This is the Speak For Yourself podcast featuring the best of Colin Cowherd and Jason Whitlock. I'm your host, Jason McIntyre. Taco Tuesday! Huge night in the NBA. Monday was kind of a snoozer. Fired up for today's show. Closer to the draft. Love me some NFL draft. Here we go. Whitlock makes the argument that Steph Curry would be better off as a solo act and not stuck on the Beatles. Colin describes modern-day dating life to explain why he doesn't have a problem with the honesty and authenticity of Deshaun Watson and DeShone Kizer. Fox Sports college football analyst Joel Klatt gives us a science lesson on just why Jabrill Peppers might have had a diluted sample, but Chris Carter's having none of it and makes the bet that Jabrill Peppers will fail an NFL drug test. Cowherd makes the argument that Westbrook is a little like Trump. Oh boy, no matter what he does, people will love him. And even Chris Broussard finally agrees that Russell Westbrook has not lived up to his billing this postseason. What was it, the 25% three-point shooting gotcha, Chris? Plus, we break down why Adrian Peterson will be a great fit for the Saints in Sean Payton's offense. That one's me and Whitlock against Carter and Cowherd. It's fun. You ready for Speak For Yourself? Cowherd and Whitlock, take it away.
I'm Jason Whitlock. Coming up on the show, I'll tell you why one of the NFL's top prospects said something he probably shouldn't have.
And I'm Colin Cowherd, and I'll tell you how Russell Westbrook's historic season will soon be forgotten. Speak For Yourself starts right now. I didn't write that, but it felt good saying it.
Let me tell you something. I think I kind of agree with you, which really irritates the hell out of me. Hello and welcome. Time for Speak For Yourself. Big show coming your way. Colin and I are joined by NBA analysts Chris Broussard and Jim Jackson. Let's start with the Golden State Warriors, who completed the sweep of the Blazers before the second quarter even began. That's because they had a 45-point first quarter. Kevin Durant looked solid in his return, but the real story was Steph Curry, who became only the second player in the last 33 years to score more than 35 points in 30 minutes or less in a playoff game. The other guy, Michael Jordan. So while we're comparing great players, Colin, I think Steph Curry just put himself in LeBron James's class.
Oh, come on
again.
No, he proved he's the greatest shooter in the history of basketball. And that he is, and you get an extra point now for it, and you didn't 25, 30 years ago, and he deserves all that. But LeBron's Jamie Foxx. He can sing, he can dance, he can act, he's funny. Steph's Bieber. He's talented, but he's not taken over a series.
Justin Bieber.
Oh, Bieber.
Justin Bieber. Oh, my God, that's below the belt, Colin.
He does have a ring.
That's below the belt. Let me give you a different analogy. You got two MVP trophies. Look, this what it was last night to me was like, man, Steph's a solo act. I think being with this great team, super team, is a mistake. He needs to be with the Charlotte Hornets or his own team doing his own thing like LeBron James. I do think maybe he's not quite LeBron because he doesn't have that size, but in terms of excitement, dominance, what the NBA needs.
I take Curry shooting out. What am I left with?
I don't care. It's basketball.
That's like taking Shaq's size. Where do you left? It doesn't matter. He's got the size.
Yeah.
He's got the shooting ability. I agree with you. Steph Curry is not the defensive player LeBron James is. He's not as big. You couldn't put Steph on Charlotte or any other team and automatically they're a contender. You can do that with LeBron James. But in evaluating the league's players for like 20 years, as I've done as a reporter, it's hard to compare centers, 6'8" wing players, and point guards. The one thing I've settled on in comparing them is impact.
That's a good word.
Yeah. Impact. And Steph Curry last year, Steph Curry this year without Kevin Durant, Steph Curry last night when Durant played 20 minutes, has the same impact as LeBron James.
That's a very good point.
Great point, and let's take it even a step further. We always do comparisons with greatest players. In football, Joe Montana, will we see another player like that? Well, Tom Brady comes along. In basketball, Wilt Chamberlain, dominant, but you had Shaq. With LeBron, who do you compare him to? You can't. He is no one out there that we've seen in the past that we can compare him to. Now, I'm going to take this a little further. I've seen a certain player that plays like Steph, which is Chris Jackson. I've seen this movie before. Now, he's not as dominant as Chris wasn't as dominant as Steph, but small, can shoot, can get by you, can finish. Chris was a little bit more athletic. So we've kind of seen this before.
If Chris Jackson was in this era,
without
you think he'd do? Because Phil Jackson made that comparison.
I would say that Chris, if he's in the system like Golden State, that has the freedom of movement and play and shoot and surrounded by the talented players. Is he Steph? I'm not going to say I'm not for sure, but I've seen this before. We haven't seen LeBron.
You make a really interesting point on impact. Brady's the greatest quarterback I've seen. But you know who has impact was Michael Vick. People watched Michael Vick and went, you can put your best athlete at quarterback? Right. Now, Curry's global impact, you could argue is better than LeBron. Curry has literally changed the way entire teams are built. Yeah. Nobody looks at LeBron and goes, let's go get LeBron. Well, to your point, LeBron doesn't exist.
But teams like Paul George, you watch Indiana play, he's handling the ball. Now, he's playing a lot like LeBron. Yeah. You did see big men, bigger guys like 3 men start to handle the ball when LeBron started first doing it. Even Harden being 6'6". Some of that's based on LeBron. But look, Curry, because of his shooting range, he extends the defense so much. Even this great Warriors team, during the regular season, they were 16 points better with Curry on the floor. Now, think about that. That means Kevin Durant may have been on the floor when Curry's on the bench. Klay Thompson may have joined him on the floor with Curry on the bench. And they still were 16 points better when Steph's in the game. Same as Cleveland, 16 points better.
Now let's go back to impact. You tell me who my son is 11. He bought Steph Curry shoes. Yeah. He didn't buy LeBron shoes.
I'm talking about on the court.
No, I know, but I'm saying on the court. But your word was impact. The one thing I can't deny about Curry, I think his impact, the way kids see the game, we're going to see over the next 25 years imitators, not of LeBron, of Curry's game.
Again, but I'm just going to go stick to on the court for right now, because you made an analogy like Tom Brady, Michael Vick. I see this more as Tom Brady, Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning's impact on the game was just as significant as Brady. Brady won more. Brady's a better quarterback. But when I look at Steph Curry, I'm just telling you, I think this entire Golden State thing is bad for Steph Curry. This is the Steph Curry fans want to see. This is the Steph Curry the NBA wants to see. He doesn't need to be backing off to make room for Kevin Durant or anybody. They should have never got Kevin Durant. It's not good for Steph. It's not good for the league. They may win a championship because of it. But Steph Curry is a solo act. Again, he's playing in the Beatles right now, and he's John Lennon or Paul McCartney. He needs to be off on his own. Beatles are great.
Would Steph be Steph if Mark Jackson was still there? If it didn't change as much as the system?
I think it was.
See, that's the question we got to ask.
He'd still be a
guy like LeBron can go to a different system.
He is the system.
And really mold that. He can't do. Steph can't do that.
If Mark Jackson were here, he would push back, man, because Mark Jackson was like, I had him when he was young.
His numbers were better under Mark Jackson. Well, the 24 points, 8 assists. They actually went down when he won his first MVP. But I think he'd be an all-star, but this system did. It's like
Mark
Steve Nash and Mike
would argue he would have found a system that would have unleashed him fully. He had a young guy.
All right, staying in the West. Tonight, the Thunder face elimination in Game 5 against the team now I'm in love with, the Rockets. In Sunday's Game 4, Houston's bench got some attention for laughing at Andre Roberson and his many failed free throw attempts. Well, it's kind of funny. He's 2 for 17 from the line in the series. Well, the Rockets' behavior didn't sit well with a man known for always demonstrating proper decorum, Russell Westbrook.
There was a point where they were intentionally fouling Dre, and he was missing free throws, that the Rockets bench was pretty blatantly laughing and kind of mocking. And did you guys see that?
I didn't see it. I didn't see it at all. Probably the guys that don't play, probably over there the ones laughing, if I had to guess.
That's funny.
Great answer.
I like that.
If the Rockets should be laughing at anything, it's Westbrook's performance in the fourth. He's shooting under 32%, Broussard, averaging only 1 assist, Jim.
Oh, thanks.
And he has a plus-minus of minus 24, Whitlock. It's clearly been a rough postseason for Westbrook, fellas. Would being eliminated tonight tarnish his historic season?
Colin, you're right. It would tarnish his season. And I think the fourth quarter thing is what we should be judging him on. It's a fourth quarter league. And his style of play, again, I love the energy and the effort, but he gets raggedy in the fourth quarter, and that's a knock against him. A great player should get better at crunch time. He gets raggedy. I thought he panicked in this series. One game when they lost a 12-point lead with him on the bench, and he came in and shot those 18 shots in the fourth quarter. I thought in the last game they were up 12 midway through the third quarter. He comes down, takes consecutive back-to-back shots. He doesn't get better as the game progresses. That's a legitimate knock on him.
First of all, the only reason you love Houston is because they're beating Russell Westbrook and the Thunder, number one.
Part of that, maybe.
No, look, did Oscar Robertson, when he averaged a triple-double, they went out in the first round.
Yeah.
Did we hold that against him? Did any of us even know that?
Fourth quarter, Chris.
All we talked about was the big O, the triple-double.
He's not playing well in the fourth quarter.
We're going to say the same thing about Russell Westbrook 20 years from now. He averaged a triple-double. No, now look, I will say this. Russ has his weaknesses, and one of them is understanding time and score. So you don't play the same way in the last 2 minutes or 5 minutes as you would in the first 5 or the second 5 minutes of the game. He does have to get better at that, but it's easier to get better at that when you have better players, too. But they don't have much help.
But, Chris, but also it goes into who holds you responsible. I keep going back to this. Last year against Golden State, the pick and roll was devastating, killing Golden State. And they went away from it because the guy on the bench didn't bring them over and say, listen, no, this is what we're going to do. And they didn't respect him enough to do that. So Russell has the freedom, the authority to go out and do what he wants to do. To me, it goes back to lack of substance on the bench in regards to who's in your ear, who do you value the most. Russ values himself, which is who he is, and that's why he plays the way he does. You know, and that's not going to change until some authoritative figure there has his ear to say, this is how I need you to play in the last 4 to 5 minutes of a game.
You know, as far as Westbrook, there's a Trumpian feel to him. If you like Trump, it doesn't matter how ridiculous on Twitter he is, you'll find a way to say, look at that is strength.
You're a Trump supporter.
No. We're not making up that he averaged a triple-double.
And I'm not making up. He's dreadful late in games.
No, late in this series.
Well,
not in the regular season. How many game winners did he hit? He had 4 game winners in the regular season.
You take all the game winners.
You can't hit a game winner if you don't shoot it.
I agree, but
by the way,
he was good down the stretch in the regular season.
Isn't it funny when LeBron was great and could struggle in the fourth? We never mentioned he didn't play with anybody because we didn't like LeBron because he threatened MJ. Now Westbrook, because he's no threat to MJ all time, we are now making excuses that he is horrific in this series in the fourth.
No, I'll admit, especially that game where he was 4 for 18 in the fourth. He was horrific. But I'm just saying, look, this series has also proven what we said and why we voted him MVP. He does not have the help that James Harden. Harden has not been tremendous during this series.
I'm tired of hearing about he ain't got the help. I'm tired of it.
He doesn't have the supporting cast to be an elite team.
By the way,
an elite team. They are what they are. They are what they should be.
Where that was the conversation. They didn't have the help. So therefore, we can't hold them accountable.
It should be noted, he had KD last year, shot 43%. This year, no KD, he shoots 43%. He's kind of the same cat with a star without him. He takes bad shots.
Hold on, they had success with KD.
No, I know.
They didn't win a ring, but they got to the finals. Then they were injured a bunch of years. Last year, they're finally healthy again. They're up 3-1.
And last year, they blew a 3-1 lead.
Blame him and KD, though. And Billy Donovan.
Welcome back. Joining Whitlock and I, Hall of Famer Chris Carter, Fox lead college football guru or analyst Joel Klatt. Here we go. 2 days and counting for the NFL draft. Top quarterback prospects trying to make strong cases for themselves. Last week, Notre Dame's DeShone Kizer raised a few eyebrows when he said he could be as good as Brady and Cam Newton. Today, Clemson's Deshaun Watson appeared on the NFL Network, and when he was asked about teams potentially drafting Mitch Trubisky over him, he threw down the gauntlet.
Hey, then you're going to have to live with the consequences that come with it.
Love it.
You know, that's how I see it. You know, I try to stay in my own lane and try not to, take that path. And, I respect Mitch and what he's done and all the hype he's getting. But at the same time, all my result speaks for itself. And, I feel like I've accomplished a lot, accomplished everything that I could. And, I guess if that's who they're going to roll with, then, hey, so be it.
All right, Whitlock, should DeShone, Kizer, and Watson be a little more humble?
Not a little more, a lot more humble. When Kizer made his comments, I was like, he compared himself to Brady. Was Brady on the record he was going to be better than Joe Montana or as good as Joe Montana when he came into the league? Deshaun Watson, I love him. He's the guy I've been championing all year. But knock it down a notch. If you want to get in one-on-one meetings with executives and say, you know what, I'm going to be great and everybody's going to, I get it. Going on national TV and running your mouth, no. The NFL's a prove-it-to-me league. Show me.
Peyton Manning, at the end of the 15-minute combine meeting with the Colts, I'm reading this, said, you could select somebody else, but I promise I'm going to come back and kick your ass.
Not on national TV. Not on national TV.
What did Tom Brady tell Mr. Kraft?
Best pick that you're ever going to make.
Ever.
Not that you made this draft.
TV.
Ever going to make.
Well, yeah, but you got to remember, there weren't as many TV outlets. I mean, good God, you say something now, it's on a phone. It's on a radio network. I mean, can I just say this? I'm for authentic. It's like dating. You can tell her you're rich, and you can tell her you're a big star, but then you're going to be 4 years into a marriage, and you're going to get divorced, and she's going to take half. Just own up to your stuff real fast. When you go on a date and you're the combine, just say, hey, man, I throw picks. Sometimes I throw into crowds. I'd rather have you be authentic, be what you are, let a team know, and then be able to access that and build around that. Don't be a phony.
Yeah, let's digest what they said. DeShone Kizer, first of all. Cam Newton. Okay, Cam Newton, the only reason why Cam Newton left Florida, it wasn't because of the computer. It was because of a guy by the name of Tim Tebow, the reigning Heisman Trophy, who was coming back. Cam wanted to play. They would have resolved the computer issue if Tim Tebow wasn't there. Well, we know he's not Brady. But even when Cam went to JUCO and showed up at Auburn, Auburn didn't have nothing. Auburn don't have no whole bunch of guys playing the pros. Cam Newton took over college football, whooped Nick Saban and everyone else in college football, all right? So you're not that person. And when you talk about Watson, him and Mitch, let's switch them teams. Does Mitch beat Alabama if he's on Clemson? And if Watson is on North Carolina, I guarantee you they win at least 10 games.
Yeah.
So for me, I don't think Watson was talking trash. Kizer, he don't know what he's talking about. Because when you say you are Cam Newton and Tom Brady, the combination of that, and you almost got the coaching staff at Notre Dame fired, just hush up for a minute. And then let me know you ain't got to be smart to get in Notre Dame.
There's a lot going on in these answers. Number one, the question to Kizer is my least favorite question of all time, because what is he supposed to say when comparing himself to modern-day quarterbacks? No one's going to say, hey, man, you're drafting Matt Flynn. No one's saying that, right? So you're going to get Brady almost every single time that you ask a college quarterback, compare yourself to somebody. Well, I'd like to think I've got a little Brady in me. His just was a little bit more public than others, so there's that. However, for both of these guys, I'm a big proponent of coach speak from your quarterback, and I have two rules for quarterbacks. Your team wins and you lose. That can govern your entire media existence as a quarterback, and you're going to be just fine. Your team wins, you lose. So all you've got to do is worry about yourself when asked about those. But a coach speak answer like Crash Davis is going to give Nuke LaLoosh, right? Listen, I'm not worried about who you're going to compare me to. I'm worried about myself. I'm going to be the best version of me that I can possibly be day in and day out. And I know that the best version of me can and will be successful in this league. That's a great answer.
But what if it's not authentic? What if a kid truly is absurdly confident? You're asking him to just say what memos should say.
The NFL is for the humble. Because the game will humble you. No. Well, look, Chris, people talk a lot, but the NFL, you prepare for success. And preparation is a very humble experience. And so, again, I hear these guys at the quarterback position, my wide receivers and defensive backs and linebackers, some of the more emotional positions, you can be as much swagger and as confident as you want to be, but the quarterback position is about the guy who prepares the most.
Aaron Rodgers talks trash, and Tom Brady definitely talks trash.
They do.
They do. And they're in the NFL, and they play quarterback.
Now, they don't generally do it into microphones. I think that's the difference, right? So they understand their audience. You know, is it a microphone? Is it behind closed doors? Where am I projecting this persona, and where am I not projecting this persona.
You must believe in yourself. All that coach speak, all that being a quarterback, at the end of the day, you are a representation of yourself. When I was doing an interview for this job, they asked me, do you have any problems? I said, yes. I'm wondering why y'all ain't hired me already.
I said the same thing.
Look, there's no one, I got an overblown ego to match everybody in this building.
Right.
But I don't play quarterback. And I just think, again, when I look at Deshaun Watson, I love the kid. Quarterback's not a gold chain position.
But that didn't feel, it didn't feel cocky. Deshaun did not feel cocky to me. He was asked a question, and he's like,
they have to live with that. I'm going to worry about myself and where I go.
To another top prospect making headlines, Michigan's Jabrill Peppers is watching his draft stock tumble for two separate reasons. Yesterday, a report came out that he tested for a diluted sample at the Combine. Now another report says NFL teams are bothered by his decision to sit out the Orange Bowl and that it demonstrated a lack of a commitment to his team. Colin, what's the bigger red flag for Peppers, the diluted sample or the missed bowl game?
Diluted sample. Bowl game, there was a hamstring issue. I'm not a doctor, but the diluted sample thing sounds a lot like, hey, I failed my drug test. I had a poppy seed muffin. I swear I didn't smoke pot. It just feels like that to me. That's what it feels like. Listen, what you're telling me is, I'm not anti-pot. I grew up in Washington State, okay? It's like the state flag. What I'm anti is, dude, you got 3 weeks. Your career earnings, you're going to get paid. You can't stay away from stuff for 3 weeks.
But that's pure speculation.
Failing a test is not speculation.
No, because that test is totally inconclusive. The test is actually based on the amount of creatinine in your system. Okay, so if you fall below 20 milligrams per deciliter of creatinine in your sample, you're going to have a diluted sample. All you've got to do to fall below that threshold is have around 48 ounces of water in a 3 to 5 hour period. And it doesn't have to be just water. It can be any sort of liquid, right? You're going to dilute your sample to a certain extent. If you're a guy that has struggled with cramps in his life, like Jabrill Peppers has, going all the way back to Paramus Catholic in New Jersey, his high school days, and you're going to work out at 2 different positions, CC, which those other 329 guys aren't doing. Jabrill Peppers is. He's going to work out as a linebacker and as a defensive back. I'm going to force as many fluids as I can.
There is no doubt.
He has the 48 ounces. All I'm saying is, did he have drugs in his system? Maybe, Colin, maybe. But did he do this to hydrate? Maybe. We don't know. That's why this is more an NFL problem than it is a Jabrill Peppers problem.
This is what I do know. There's one way to clear this up. You know what? Him and his agent have a press conference. And you know a way to clear this up? Say, hey, guys, when you took my blood, when you took my hair follicles, you can test those.
Right.
Because they will show how much and what I used over the last 5 or 6 years.
Right.
So if it was diluted because of drinking, I haven't heard anybody come out and say that. That's why I know, Joe, it's more than noise. You know why? Because I have given a bunch of diluted samples. I have seen people give diluted samples, and I have worked with a company that trains people, and if we have a guy that's going to be positive, see, before, when the samples were diluted, they bring you back in a couple months. It wasn't a positive test. But the league got on to the kids, all right? Because they're shooting water, not only drinking it, they're shooting it to them intravenously, and they'll take it up the rectum because that helps get more water in the body. They have done this for the last 10 or 15 years. This is not new.
Well, also, I'm supposed to believe Jabrill Peppers is the only guy that gets cramps. A lot of guys get cramps. You know, it's one of these things where it's the woulda, coulda, shoulda. Go to the Combine, pass your test.
But he didn't fail. That's the problem. See, you're saying that he failed the drug
showing up.
I understand
It's the same thing, and the guys know the circumstances.
But that's a procedural issue. That's not an actual drug issue. Joe, so all I'm saying is come back 6 hours from now, because the administrator saw you pee. He saw it was clear.
Joe,
come back in 6 hours.
5 to 6 weeks before that, he took a drug test for the Orange Bowl, okay? So if that test was clean, he could have played in the game. He was eligible to stay in the game. So sometime between the bowl game and the Combine, something happened.
But we don't know. That's the problem, is we don't know. It could have been a cramp
I've been
issue.
behind the curtain.
I understand that.
No, I know.
Listen, I understand that. All I'm saying is we don't know for sure.
Test my blood.
Well, I understand that. Chris, I'm saying we don't know for sure, which means that the NFL should not automatically put him into the drug program. That's all I'm saying, is this is a procedural issue. I'm not saying he didn't use. I'm not saying he did. I'm saying that the NFL needs to clear up their procedure.
We'll just say this, a gentleman's agreement, right here on this show. In the next 2 years, Reuben Foster or Peppers get suspended for using drugs. That's what I'm willing to say.
I agree.
That's what I'm willing to say.
That they will.
They will. Because now they're in the program. They're going to be tested 3 times a week.
All right, I'm going to end on this note. My red flag is the missed bowl game. I didn't like it then, and at the time, I'm a little bit off Jabrill Peppers. All right, to one of the biggest moves this offseason, former Vikings running back Adrian Peterson has agreed to terms with the Saints. It's reportedly a 2-year, $7 million deal. The 32-year-old Peterson is coming off an injury-plagued season in which he only played in 3 games. Still, he's feeling pretty good about his prospects with New Orleans. Colin, is Peterson a good fit for the Saints?
Not a good fit for anybody at this point. He's lost his burst. I get all the fumbles. He doesn't want to practice. I mean, let me just say this about him. So Ezekiel Elliott comes in this league, and we're hoping he can be Adrian Peterson. Well, Ezekiel doesn't fumble. In the last 5 years alone, Adrian Peterson, who no longer has the burst, who no longer wants to practice, who can never be a great pass blocker, who had unnatural catching skills, is tied for the most fumbles, 17. So, I keep hearing how great AP is. In the last 600...
2 years, $7 million.
First of all, I don't think he's a good teammate. He doesn't want to practice anymore. Not a great teammate.
Price, Colin, you wouldn't take Adrian Peterson.
No, I have Mark Ingram, who's more of a team guy.
For the price.
Well, let me tell you what Bill Belichick said after making him work out. That's like Colin saying, you know something? A little radio station, Upstart. Hey, Colin, we're going to give you a tryout. Spark up the mic. We're going to talk about what? I've been doing this 20 years. What do you mean tryout? That's what Bill Belichick did to Adrian Peterson. Adrian Peterson had run out of options. This was his reality. You are worth what someone will pay you. And New Orleans was the only one. Even New England would not pay him $3 million. So I don't think it's a great deal.
But couldn't the counter be true then? Hey, this was a wake-up call for Adrian Peterson. Dude, you are a backup. You are a number 2. And you look in Atlanta, they got 2 very good running backs. You look at Pittsburgh, 2 very good running backs. Adrian, nobody else wanted you. Fall in line, take carries behind Mark Ingram, and we're going to build from the inside out Drew Brees.
But you can't play him on 3rd down. It's hard to be the backup when you can't play on 3rd down. He's not great at blitz pickup, even though he has a great body. He's not great at catching the ball out of the backfield. Mark Ingram, folks, is a better running back than Adrian.
Do you think, though, with Drew Brees at quarterback, because Adrian Peterson's never had a quarterback that I can remember that would scare the safeties, back the safeties.
Brett Favre for a couple of years.
They were there.
Not Bridgewater, but Brett Favre for a couple of years. But with Drew Brees and Sean Payton's mind, you're telling me on some first downs and second downs in this league, him 7 yards behind Drew Brees.
They don't have Brandon Cook anymore. If they had Brandon Cook and Adrian Peterson, they would have something.
Let me ask you.
Adrian is a volume runner. He's like Westbrook. He's a volume shooter. And between 15 to 22, that's when you get the best out of him.
But at the same time, Drew Brees has said he wants to extend his career 5 more years, 10 more years. You know how to do that. Don't lead the league in pass attempts. Hand the ball off to Ingram, give Adrian Peterson 15 carries a game, and guess what? You milk the clock and keep that sorry defense off the field.
Speaking back to what you said, the way this can be positive, I'll put a positive spin on this for you, bro. In 2009, when they went to the Super Bowl, they were 6th in yards and 7th in the rushing attempts. The only time that since Drew Brees has been there, they've been in the top 10. Last year, they were 24th. So, yes, this can put them back. When they did have success, they had more balance, and they were more physical.
Okay, I'll just say it again. 17 fumbles last 5 years, doesn't pass block, no longer wants to practice, not natural pass catching ability.
The practice thing is huge in the NFL.
Yeah. So you don't think this is the last chance he's going to react? Hey, you're out of the league at this point.
I don't think
So what do you think he's going to do? What do you consider to be a great year for Adrian Peterson?
I don't know.
Because even if he has a great year, he only makes 3 million.
700-800 yards, and they're in the playoffs.
4.3 yards a carry.
9 fumbles.
You dropped your standards.
$3 million. They're paying him $3 million. That's what $3 million gets you.
So y'all obviously don't think he's a great player anymore.
I don't, of course not.
So
But D'Angelo,
So you guys agree with us?
No.
D'Angelo Williams. I can want to. I can want to.
Everybody's not great. We don't toss the word great around
Okay,
all the
but
time.
you're acknowledging he's not great, and I get the no teammate, and can't block, and can't catch, and fumbles. If I'm bringing in a guy for $3 million, he better not turn it over, and he better practice his arse off. I get none of that stuff with him. What do when Russell Westbrook can no longer jump, are you going to bring him on for cheap?
Should have stayed with the Vikings. We'd have gave him $3 million. I'd have stepped in. We had your numbers in the Raptors. You'd still be a household name.
Wow. This is the Speak for Yourself podcast featuring the best of Colin Cowherd and Jason Whitlock. I'm your host, Jason McIntyre. Make sure to check us out on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, and YouTube. We love your comments. Remember, subscribe. It helps us. Hey, quick word, final word here. Jabrill Peppers and the diluted sample. Listen to this. The diluted sample, it was from the NFL Combine. This happened in February. Why is it coming out now in April? It's pretty obvious this is a smear campaign from some other agent, some runner. Somebody's looking to damage Peppers, get him into the second round where he gets significantly less money. I think it's kind of messed up. Okay, I think the NFL needs to come out and clear this up. I just think it's wrong for the NFL to just let Peppers catch a beating here during draft week. I mean, it's really an ugly smear. And frankly, what's the big deal? I know that if you know a drug test is coming, you should be able to pass it. But it's a diluted sample at the Combine in February that may or may not have been caused by water. Come on, guys. We'll see you tomorrow.